Guys, listen, I have some very unfortunate news. Look, it's not you, it's me. No, it's not me, there's somebody else. And it's rendered you guys useless. I'm sorry to say, but it's true. Listen, I've enjoyed every second of our time together, but people change. We move on. I'm going to have to let you go. Thank you for your years of service, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck in the next chapter of your lives. Go on, be strong, and rock on. Goodbye, you excessively loud, heavy heathens.
4 to 6 weeks later.
Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed Lonely Rocker. Thank you so much for joining me today. So the first question that really needs to be answered is, what am I going to do with this empty wall now? Just kidding. Now, you didn't think I'd be getting rid of my amps now, did you? Now, the whole purpose of getting an amp modeler now is I wanted a professional grade tool that would offer a lot of I/O, so I have great sounding amp models in addition to some good I/O to help me reamp and do blends and introduce other gear through the modeler. Amps are going to be a big part of that experience and topics that I'm going to cover going forward. But I did make a decision. I do have my first amp modeler here, and I'm talking professional grade. And I want to thank you guys. I put out that video asking which one you thought I should get in 2023, 2024. Got a ton of feedback on that, and I really appreciate that. So I want to share some stats from that video, let you know what you guys chose, and then ultimately I'm going to reveal the one hiding underneath that Lonely Rocker t-shirt there, and then we'll get into some details of what I plan to do with it, how I plan to set it up and use it, and potentially the type of content I want to offer here on the channel around that device over there. And by the way, I'm going to put an asterisk beside this choice because I want to get deeper into different modeling technology, so it's very likely we're going to see other devices here on the channel. I'm actually currently working on something, hoping that's going to come to fruition soon. I will announce that if and when it does. Anyways, let's check out the stats and then I'll reveal my new modeler. So in my last video, I had suggested that I want to buy a modeler, and I created a short list. I narrowed it down to about 5 or 6 devices, but some of you went off the grid, which was kind of interesting. So what I've done here for the initial results is I've grouped everything by brand, just to get a sense of which brand was the most popular, at least over the course of the days that I presented this video. So number one, by quite a wide margin, is Fractal at 29.8%. A lot of Axe FxIIIs, FM9s, but 30% of you almost suggested that I get a Fractal product. Number two, kind of a distant second at 16% is Line 6. The lion's share of that was likely the Helix, though there are some Helix LTs and some HX Stomp fans. So 16% of you suggested that I get a Line 6 product. Now in third place, we have an other category here, and I'm going to talk about that in a second because that's a bunch of different things, but a couple of interesting things came up in there. So tied for third place, or I guess technically tied for fourth place, we're looking at Neural, DSP, and Kemper at 8.5%. And then we've got a Fender at 7.4%. And then Boss as a right-in category, actually 6.4% of you suggested that I get a Boss product. Now I have featured the GX100 on the channel. The GT1000 is an interesting unit. I didn't include those in my short list because I didn't feel they had enough I/O. I wanted something a little bit more, but those are definitely great devices. And a number of you thought they were worthy of being here in my studio. So that I found that really interesting. So the other categories comprise of a bunch of onesies and twosies, various amp modelers, some of which I had heard of before, a couple that I hadn't. But one really interesting suggestion was to forego a modeler altogether and just get a really good audio interface with a lot of I/O and then just use the Tone X and Amplitude software. Now that's a really interesting suggestion because considering I want a lot of I/O, and I think Tone X has some of the best tone models or amp models on the market, especially for the price. Now the pedal itself doesn't have a lot of I/O, so that's not going to suffice on its own, but there is the software version and it's the same thing. So it was definitely something worth chewing on. All right, let's take a look at the results based on my short list. I have 6 devices on my list, and the number one device that you guys recommend that I get is the Fractal Axe FxIII at 27.8%. By the way, some of you voted for multiple devices or gave me a couple suggestions. That all counted as a vote. In second place is the Line 6 Helix at 18.5%. In third place, we have a tie between the Quad Cortex and the Kemper. A lot of you didn't specify which Kemper, either the floor or the rack model, so I just included it all as one, but they were tied for third place. In fourth place, at 13%, is the Fender Tone Master Pro. And closing out the list in last place at 11.1% is the Fractal FM9. Now, for me, it wasn't just about tones, it was the device itself. And a lot of you obviously heard me, and it's probably the reason why that you recommended that I get the Axe FxIII. It has the most I/O, tons of amplifiers. It's a pretty up-to-date device. With Line 6, some of you sort of expressed a reservation that Helix has been out for a while, and some of you feeling that there's a new device coming out at some point sooner than later. I know they just released a new firmware. That's been my feeling as well. But very interesting that the Fractal Axe FxIII is the #1 suggestion that you guys think that I should get. Well, which one did I actually get? So enough talking. Let's take a look. So dramatic. Yes, I decided to get a Fractal FM9. That was actually last on the list. So why did I get an FM9? Well, let's take a listen to some quick tones and I can explain to you why I chose the FM9. So why did I get an FM9 over a Fractal Axe FxIII? Well, to me, purchases come down to what I need. Now, certainly the Fractal Axe FxIII offers the most. But for me, and what I really needed in my studio was a combination of good tones, great effects, and good I/O, which the FM9 does. Now, there are some limitations on the FM9 in comparison to the Axe FxIII, but some of those limitations are really only applicable, I think, if you're playing live, because I'm recording here. I don't like to build big presets. Not that I wouldn't do it if I had that functionality, but it's not what I want to do. I want to create patches, probably single, maybe double an amp here and there, but generally it's based on one amp. I might stretch out a little bit now that I have the functionality here, because there's actually no shortage of what you can do here, just a bit less than what you do in the Axe FxIII. But it created a little bit of a limitation, which is kind of a forced limitation. I can't really go too crazy, technically, because you can kind of go pretty crazy on the FM9. I mean, it's just, was it like 300 amps and tons of effects? And this is the turbo model, so you have a little bit more DSP. But that doesn't limit how much I can stack, because I can create multiple presets, record, multi-track, which I do anyways, and I can still achieve the same thing, and just a bit more of a custom workflow for me. In terms of I/O, it has plenty of I/O for what is a smaller device. You've got 3 pairs of ins and outs here, so obviously I'm taking 2 that goes out into my speaker monitors, because actually I am using this as my audio interface right now, and there's a couple small things that are bugging me, which I will dive into deeper probably in another video, but it's been pretty great USB interface. I've been looking to get a new interface, and this actually killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So, but then you got an additional 2 pairs of ins and outs. So for example, when I'm reamping, I've got my load box and the output into the amp here, so I can actually reamp through another pair of ins and outs. And then there's another one here. We talked about Tonex. I've actually got my Tonex pedal sitting down here, which I can bring in into a loop, into a signal chain or preset in the FM9 edit. So suddenly all of the amps that are in Tonex, it's like another block now. I can add amps from here as well. So Tonex can be very much part of this solution. So I just felt it had enough. And also, it fits perfectly on my desk. I measured everything out, with my controllers here, and it fits perfectly. And I like actually having the foot switches here. They become hand switches. So if I set up different scenes for my different presets, I can access them here. Tap tempo if I want to do a, tap tempo before a take or something like that. It's just handy to have all of these buttons here. If it was a rack, I probably would have it down here. I wouldn't have the foot switch. I may have to add the foot switch. It's a significant extra cost to get the foot switch. So it just seemed like an all-in-one package that gave me enough power, gave me enough amps and effects that I need. And so far, I've actually had it for a few weeks, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's giving me everything that I need in terms of functionality, and ultimately, the form factor just seemed to work best here for my studio. Now, if I outgrow it in the future, of course, I can sell it and I can upgrade to an Axe FxIII, but so far, it's proving to be the right device. Okay, there's one last thing that might be driving some of you crazy. Now it's officially mine. Well, there's my intro to the Fractal FM9. I'm super excited to have it here in my studio. I've been having a lot of fun with it and learning it pretty quickly. It's not as confusing as people say it is. You just need to kind of get your hands dirty and figure out where everything is, and then just once you figure that out, it becomes a lot easier. Anyways, lots to learn about the FM9. I want to share everything possible about this device. Do let me know any topics that you would like to see me cover here on the channel. I want to lean more to the recording side of the device, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about dialing in tones, different signal chains, all sorts of things, presets, things like that. It's all open, fair game here, and I would love to hear from you, so let me know in the comments. I'm populating my list as we speak. Now, you may be in the market for a modeler yourself, but maybe the FM9 is a little bit out of your budget. Well, not to worry. There's a bunch of great budget modelers out there. In fact, I covered one not so long ago. I'm going to put it here for you to check out, the Sonic Cake Matribox 2. That's a great entry-level modeler. Check that one out. Let me know what you think about it. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. I'll catch you in the next one.